on the phone Dan O'Connor. He was a candidate for the 7th District of New York, and I had posted up, I think we had done this on the show a while back, where I'd pointed out I thought that Rand Paul was, I don't know if I said he was an idiot, but I think he was being idiotic. He had a moment on the one of those ABC talk shows This Week or whatever it is, Meet the Press, where he didn't know that government workers had shrunk under Obama. And Dan O'Connor responded on Twitter, was not happy. He characterized me in the same way as I did Rand Paul. And so I invited him on to have a debate about it. Dan, welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, Sam.
Did I mean, that was a fair characterization, right, of how we're at this point?
Yeah, I think it is. Usually I hardly use Twitter, and I'm not really familiar with the way it works. Usually I wouldn't publicly, come out and call someone an idiot in front of large crowds. But, I saw the way that I guess
so in a way, the upshot is it was a good Twitter lesson. Like it's a public thing. I know that you didn't realize that, and so I didn't, and I've been called a lot worse. But so it was a good education at least.
Yeah, sure. And I did watch the 5-minute segment, and I felt like Paul was being mischaracterized and somewhat defenseless, given that he wasn't on the show, and I think butchered quite a bit unwarrantedly.
Okay, so now I thought it was pretty amazing that he was not aware that the number of government workers under Obama we've lost. I think now it's over 600,000 government workers under Obama, and he seemed not to know this on that program. Let's play. I'm going to play a minute, and you should be able to hear this. It'll be a minute and a half of this exchange. The voices we're going to hear are Krugman, Cokie Roberts, and then Rand Paul. And let's play that now.
But no, the fact of the matter is all of us who are serious about the numbers, me, for example, warned from the beginning that this thing was going to be inadequate. This has come out pretty much the way that the analysis that underlay the program said it was going to turn out. And as I say, Obama had a filibuster-proof majority for a few months in 2009. Ever since, before and after he's faced scorched earth opposition.
But there's a reason that they lost in 2010, which is that people weren't happy with what was going on. And so, you can't just separate those things.
You cannot run and say this.
But it is also true that one of the reasons that we're seeing this slowdown is that businesses are not sure what's going to happen because of this fiscal cliff that we are facing.
But who created that?
Exactly. And that is there because
is you're arguing that the government sector is struggling? Are you arguing that there are fewer government employees under Obama than there were under Bush?
That's a fact.
No,
that's
I think the size of growth of government is enormous under President Obama.
If government employment had grown as fast under Obama as it did under Bush, we'd have 1.5 million more people employed right now, directly.
Are there less people employed or more people employed now by government?
Now, okay, so now I'm looking at a chart. This is the bank credit analyst. I think this chart I got from The Economist. And under every president coming out of a recession, they do the 4 years of under each new presidential administration. Obama's number of government, of the size of government, is the lowest. It is in negative territory. I think this was done, this says about negative 580,000. I think it's more than that from other data I've seen. But regardless, the highest was, I think it's George H.W. Bush, 1.2 million increase. So what is wrong with that analysis?
Right. Well, first I want to preface that I ran for U.S. Congress as a Democrat here in New York. So, you're not going to catch me, as a big fan of Rand Paul, but I would want to point out that I think there's a clear distinction that needs to be made in this argument that's being neglected, and that's the fact that, Barack Obama is not in charge of state or local governments. He oversees the federal government, and this is the important distinction that Krugman blatantly disregards, and he demagogues the issue and he distorts the facts to make it look in his favor. But when you look at the federal government employment, it certainly has grown under Obama.
Yeah, it's grown by about 100.
To argue differently is just dishonest.
I'm just saying it's 100. Federal government employment has grown about 130, 140,000, and I think that excludes the temporary blip from the census. But why is that distinction? I mean, aside from we're talking about the government sector, so I mean, but why is that distinction important? Because President Obama doesn't, he doesn't run the U.S. government, all by himself. He can't just sort of say, I'm going to add more money to our executive branch. I mean, that's a function of Congress as well. But so what is the distinction here?
That's really the crux of the argument between Paul and Krugman is, Krugman is arguing that state and local governments are part of Obama's, spectrum of authority. And he doesn't have any say over these budgets.
I mean,
he doesn't have any say over these budgets. He doesn't control these budgets. It's mayors and governors that control those budgets.
But you are aware that there are hundreds of billions of dollars that go to the states and and municipalities, federal dollars, certainly through the stimulus, but really since the 1800s, that provide employment in the states. You're aware of that.
I'm aware that money does trickle down into the stuff. Yeah, well, sure.
I mean, trickle down. I want to read from a Cato analysis. This is the Cato think tank. Certainly not a liberal analysis. Maybe it's I don't know. What you think of Cato Institute, but and I don't agree with the way that they characterize this as being a bad thing. This is from a 2007 report. Okay, this is before President Obama was president. Federal granting began during the late 19th century. Those are the 1800s. Expanded during the early 20th century. Ballooned during the 1960s. I think President Obama was 4 then or something. I don't know. Today, more than 800 federal grant programs shower the states with hundreds of billions of dollars each year. Now, this Cato Institute's trying to make this out to be a bad thing. But state and local governments consume a portion of aid in employee wages and other administrative costs. I think they put this at somewhere, they said 16 million employees from federal funds federal funds pay for 16 million employees. This is in 2007, 16 million employees in state and municipal things. And so because these states and municipalities have constraints, they lose revenue when property taxes go down. They have charters that say that they have to balance their budget. It is the federal government that actually adds to the employee rolls and to the wages and to the hiring. I mean, surely you know.
So if it's now the responsibility of the federal government
not now
to manage state, so if it's your opinion. If it's your opinion that the federal government is responsible for managing state and local budgets, what aren't they responsible for?
Well, I'm not saying they're responsible for managing budgets, but I can tell you that for far longer than you and I have been alive, in fact, our grandparents have been alive. In fact, their grandparents were being alive. The federal government has provided funds to states to hire people, to do road work.
But that's not a valid argument what you're making. That argument, it's a false argument. It's argument antiquatum, and it's not a valid argument. Just because something's been going on throughout history doesn't mean it's okay.
Well, no, but you can argue, if you want to argue.
Doesn't mean that it's legal. People have been killing people for centuries too, but it doesn't mean it's okay.
Well, all right, Dan, listen. I mean, if you want to say that hiring teachers with federal dollars is equivalent to killing people, that's your business. But the point is not. We can argue.
Should the Obama administration begin regulating murder laws?
Dan, hold on for a second. We can argue the validity of federal government giving these money. But the fact is that the federal government has done this as a practice for over 100 years.
And they did slavery 150 years ago, too.
Dan, let me finish. And the point is that the argument we're having right now is whether or not federal funding impacts governmental city and state employee roles. And it does. And we can agree with that. Now, if you want to argue that it shouldn't, well, let's have that argument.
Under our legal system, it should not, and that is what I am arguing. Under our legal system, it should not. And as someone who ran for Congress,
so you're saying
for
it's
a year in New York City, well, as someone who ran for Congress in New York City, I'll notice that most of those funds are kickbacks, and for friends, bureaucrats, and other contractors that work for the government. That's how most of that money is allocated.
Okay.
It's all divvied out in the form of kickbacks.
Okay, so all right, well, but that's different. I mean, are you saying that it's unconstitutional for the federal government to give aid to states and cities?
Well, ideally, yes. Although it hasn't been practiced for 150 years.
I'm just curious.
And, you know,
do you think it's
under a strict interpretation of the Constitution? Yes.
Okay.
They do not have that authority.
Well, all right. I mean, I don't know why.
And this is why there was established a separation of powers, and that's why we had a judicial and a legislative.
But can't the Congress? Can't the Congress?
So it would be clearly defined.
Can't the Congress? Doesn't the Congress have the right to make a budget and spend money essentially in any fashion that they deem appropriate? I mean, isn't that in the Constitution? What article of the Constitution, what amendment says that the U.S. Congress is not allowed to provide aid to the states?
Well, but if you're looking at it, but from your point of view,
no. I'm just asking. You're saying it's unconstitutional.
What authority does the
you ran for Congress? You ran for Congress. You're saying it's unconstitutional. Under what section of the Constitution? What is missing from the Constitution that says that they can give money in aid to the states?
Okay, but first we need to get back to the original argument, which is if the federal government is in charge of local and state budgets,
they're not in charge of it. They just give them money to hire people.
So does it have unlimited funding then?
Does what have unlimited funding?
The federal government. They have unlimited funding for state and local governments.
Well, they don't have unlimited. They actually they vote to send a certain amount of funds to state and local governments. I mean, you realize that as congressman, you would make these votes. You would vote on, should we continue the Build America Bonds program? Should we have should we allow for 100,000 new cops on the street and provide this program? Should we have Department of Homeland Security program? Should we have should we provide education funds to these states to hire more teachers? Should we provide highway funds for them to hire more highway workers? You understand that?
Right.
That's the stuff that you would be doing as a congressman. You could either vote yes or no, but I don't know anybody who can stand up and say, this vote is against the Constitution. We shouldn't even be allowed to vote on this. I mean, that's what you're suggesting.
Well, yeah, no one has made that argument in a very long time, but it's a very important discussion because as our legal system was originally set up, it was set up, divvying up powers. State and local governments was distinctly separate from federal, and legislative and judicial and executive branches were distinctly separated. And now, when you mesh it all up and you blend everything all up together, you completely negate the way that it was originally set up, and it's basically chaos.
Okay, so it appears to be for you to be chaos that's going on. What is problematic from a policy outcome to all of this for you?
Well, there's no lines drawn. They're given the authority to do whatever they want, allocate anything they want, and most of that money ends up going back to their buddies and their cronies and their constituents in the form of kickbacks.
And the big banks and the big wait, let me ask you. Okay. So do you see like these 200,000 teachers that have had to be fired in the wake of the financial crisis. The 100,000, 50,000 EMTs, the maybe tens of thousands of cops and firemen, the highway workers, all these people that have lost their jobs. In your mind, they were all just cronies. Is that it? I mean, I'm trying to get to what is problematic here. You're saying it's chaos.
What I'm saying is that there are no restraints placed upon the bureaucrats.
In the state.
They can shell out this money in any way they want.
Who's shelling out the money?
Restraint.
What bureaucrats? Are they state or federal bureaucrats? Because my understanding is Congress, you would have been a congressman had you won, would vote to authorize payment of money for a program, and then it would go to the state. It happens all the time with Medicaid, for instance, and the state bureaucrats would divvy out that money along the narrow confines on which Congress authorized the payment of that money. In other words, for Medicaid, you have to give money only to people in this, payments or provide medical insurance only for people within these parameters. Or you must use this money to hire teachers, or you must use this to highway funds. And then there's parameters within there that the states buck up against, or they finagle or whatnot. But are you saying that the bureaucrats on the state level are just giving their money to their cronies?
Not entirely, but so much of this money ends up going into the hands of the cronies.
Okay, so you have a problem with the state bureaucrats, in other words.
Well, no, I have a problem with guidelines and the lack of respect and acknowledgement for the rule of law. And
so you're saying that the federal government doesn't give specific enough. You're saying the federal government doesn't give enough specific guidelines on how to spend this federal money.
It's so much of it is wasted, and so much of it is shelled out to contractors and Swiss bank accounts, and people end up getting rich, and money ends up going offshore. Big banks' balance sheets build up. This is what we see because they're unrestrained.
Yeah. All right, Dan. I'm not sure that we're getting anywhere with this, but I mean, this is an interesting perspective you have about this money. I mean, I agree there's waste probably in every program, and in any company I've ever worked at, there's been enormous waste. And every restaurant I've worked at, tremendous waste. I've found my experiences in those situations, telling the manager that that's the case usually ends up getting you fired. But I think I told that story the other day, but that's not the point. If you're arguing that there's waste in government, I would agree. Of course, the question is trying to figure out what that waste is to make things more efficient. If you're saying the federal government should not be allowed to give grants, then I don't know what to tell you in this idea that
budgets, governors and mayors should be in charge of their own budgets.
Well, they are in charge of their own budgets. They can either accept or...
You're telling me Obama's in charge of their budgets.
No, I'm telling you that Obama, as president of the United States, makes a proposal to Congress. Let's say he calls it the, it's not called the stimulus, but whatever. It's the, we'll call it the stimulus bill. And in it includes money for, let's say, transportation projects. And that money can get sent down to New Jersey. And if you're the governor of New Jersey, you can say, you know what? We don't want these federal funds to fund, let's say, a tunnel going from New Jersey into New York. And we're going to lose those 4,000 jobs, or we're never going to hire those people. That's the way it works, Dan. And really, you have a responsibility, in my estimation, if you're going to run for Congress, to understand that dynamic. And if you think it's unconstitutional, then you should run on the idea that Congress should not be in any way allocating funds for anything that states or cities are doing. And it would be a very interesting campaign.
Well, it's really just about the rule of law and the balance of powers.
I know you keep saying that. But you can't even cite to me what law it is that Congress can't give money to the states for programs.
No, they do. They do this. They certainly do this, and it certainly has been going on for a long time.
Yes, you're saying it's not constitutional.
It blurs the concept and the way that was originally set up to separate states, local governments, legislative, judicial, executive branch.
How?
And it empowers bureaucrats to do whatever they want.
Okay. All right. Well, Dan, I appreciate your taking the time with us. I thought it was a pretty interesting debate.
And just in closing, to get back to my original point, that is the argument. He doesn't make the precise argument that I'm making, but Paul made the argument that Obama is not responsible for state and local budgets. It's not his responsibility. It is the responsibility of the governors and the mayors.
I would be interested if Rand Paul made the argument that the House cannot, the Congress cannot in any way allocate funds to the states and the cities. That would be great. I would love to hear that. I think, and as senator, I'm sure that he would have a problem with that money. I'm sure that he wouldn't have a problem with that money coming back. But be that as it may, he was saying government sector. Maybe in his mind, he was not including and wasn't aware that how many millions of dollars, billions of dollars go to municipal and state governments to hire people as per the Cato Institute. I just picked a source that I thought maybe we could all agree on, at least in terms of their facts. I'm sure there's every other, at least somewhat of their facts, every other think tank or reporter, anybody. I've never heard anybody who's made the claim that those federal funds somehow don't help states and cities hire people. I don't know what to tell you, Dan, but I appreciate it, and I get the fact that you think Rand Paul was saying another thing. And then
it's an important distinction to make when, it's an important distinction to make, and it's a very relevant topic in modern-day America in making the distinction between state and local and federal governments.
Yes. You just haven't explained to me why.
When you build them all into one big pot.
It's true. It's true.
Excuse me?
It's true, but you haven't explained to me why. You've just said rule of law over and over again and Constitution, and you cannot point to a law or the Constitution.
Well, yes. They are, in fact, they have for many decades, in fact, given out money to state and local governments.
Centuries.
Okay. And maybe this is part of the problem we have to examine. But at the same time, whose responsibility is it to manage those budgets?
I don't know what to tell you.
It's not Obama's responsibility to manage those budgets.
That's correct. But they only have a certain amount of money. And it's the loss of federal funds that has caused these layoffs.
So what Paul Krugman stated on television was, he implied that it was Obama's responsibility to manage state and local budgets.
I don't know how you're getting that from the clip that I said. He was simply saying that under Obama, the government...
Well, because he talks about government employees at the state and local levels, which Obama is not responsible for.
All right, Dan, but we're going to have to just agree to disagree because I think it's getting tiresome for people.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but I appreciate you taking the time and giving us your perspective on this.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I mean, I tried to go further. There's some type of block here. And I think to a certain extent, Dan wanted to get into an ideological argument about how I don't know, about federal government. And he was sort of saying, like, we've done this wrong for the past 150, 170 years. But he couldn't really tell me why. And, I'm doing a show here. I can't, what am I going to do?